Why are we protecting Syria's land? Assad's not a friend of ours. Why are we protecting their land? And Syria also has a relationship with the Kurds, who, by the way, are no angels. Syria doesn't want Turkey to take its land. I can understand that. But what does that have to do with the United States of America if they're fighting over Syria's land? Are we supposed to fight a NATO member?
President Trump doubling down on his move, pulling U.S. troops out of Syria. This as the House votes overwhelmingly to condemn the president's withdrawal of U.S. forces. Vice President Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo are on their way to the region right now to meet with the Turkish president. Secretary Pompeo talked to Maria Bartiromo this morning before he left for Turkey. She asked him if Turkey would have invaded Syria even if our troops were still there. Here's his answer.
100%. 100%. I was very, very closely involved when President Erdogan informed, notified us that he was prepared to move and that he was going to do so within hours. President Trump saw that there were American soldiers in the way. We didn't have the capacity to do that, and to think that we were going to have NATO on NATO fighting. President made the right decision in the moment to get American forces out of the way.
Here now is American Islamic Forum for Democracy President Zuhdi Jasser. So, Zuhdi, is Pompeo right?
Well, I have to tell you, first of all, let's make it clear, Dave, this problem was generated by the Obama foreign policy that was a complete disaster. We paid the Iranians billions in ransom, everything at the altar of the nuclear deal, and then Syria was sacrificed with 500,000 dead, 10 million displaced. But now we're left with this. And what President Trump was left with was like a Jenga game, where you had all these pieces fitting together. He pulled the bottom, and everything's falling apart. Our closest allies, save Israel in the region, have been the Kurds. Not one American life has been lost from the Kurdish reasons. Not to mention, we've only lost 4 American lives compared to tens of thousands of Kurdish lives lost. So I think it was not a smart move. I think, okay, fine, we want to remove troops. Secretary Pompeo is correct. Turkey has been amassing troops on the border for a while. So what do? We engage the UN, we engage the West and say, you know what, we're going to move troops out. However, we can't allow Turkey to move in, and we should have put sanctions in before they moved in, not pulled our troops like a Jenga game and then have them go in and massacre our closest allies as we lose credibility and strategy, and ISIS now can grow again.
So, Zuhdi, to that point, I know a lot of people are concerned about the growth of ISIS, but wouldn't stoking the flames with Turkey actually be a bigger security threat for us?
No, I don't believe so. If you look at where ISIS came from, they're a Salafi jihadi Sunni radical movement that Turkey and Qatar radicalized in Syria over the last 4 to 5 years as ISIS grew out of 2013. So to say that somehow we're worried about them even making it worse, they're going to be far more radicalizing to northeastern Syria as they take over that 20-mile corridor, as they're now wantonly and indiscriminately bombing neighborhoods. They're moving Kurdish communities out. It's not just an act of war they're doing against military. They're actually bombing neighborhoods of Kurds and other minorities to get their troops into Syria.
Zuhdi, if I'm not mistaken, when I heard the president speak today, it seemed like he mentioned that we were going to be strategic with Iran, Syria, and Russia with respect to going after ISIS and having, I don't want to use the word a dependence upon them, but certainly they would play a much bigger role. That seemed incredibly surprising to us over here in the U.S.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I wish there was more coming out of the White House about what that strategy is. I mean, and I understand the House's resolution today. Imagine if the president decided tomorrow, let's pull our troops out of the DMZ between North Korea and South Korea. There's no war there, but if we pulled them out, there could be. So when you move troops out, you have to telegraph a strategy on, I get it, we're done with the endless wars, but this actually created more war where there actually wasn't hot conflict in the area. And NATO has to mean something. And now we're starting to realize, I mean, at the end of the day, the only good that's going to come out of this is I think Erdogan's going to be on his heels. The Kurds are not going to hand over that area. We've seen the Russians, unfortunately, walk into areas already within a few days of where we were. So I'm not sure how we've gained any strategy. And we lost a lot of the intel on the ground that we had by having some presence there.
Well, Zuhdi, that's the question. It's Scott Martin. Is that now that the Russians are taking advantage of this situation, I mean, how long do you think the Russians stay? And if the Russians don't stay very long because of money, let's say, for example, who comes in their place? Anyone? Question mark?
Well, I don't think there is a Syria with Assad in it that the Russians won't be there. So the bottom line is that Russia's going to be there like they've been since '71 when they had the base at Tartus, and they still have it. It's strategically important, and they've joined Iran in basically making Syria a client state for them. And they're all in with them, and the Kurds have been a thorn in their side. So there's a lot to be. For the first time, actually, since the revolution, you saw a melding of the strategy of Erdogan, Russia, and Iran, since they all hate the Kurds, and we were their only allies, and sadly we've abandoned them and lost the strategic interest that we had there.
Well, Zuhdi, I know you got family in Syria, and we wish them the very best. We hope they do okay. Zuhdi Jasser, great to see you. Thank you very much for being